Can I have more of that? Just like a little bit?
Whiskey 3, huh?
Oh, my God.
Is that 3 fingers or 3? What do we go by?
Whiskey 3.
Don't
I think it was
Okay.
a code name.
Let's kick
actually.
it.
Let's rock and roll.
I think it was
Welcome to It Starts With Whiskey. I'm Ryan.
I'm Thee.
And I'm JoJo.
And we're coming back from a very long month off of travel.
Hiatus.
It's crazy. It's been a month.
I know. We only had like 3 days in a month that we could fit on the calendar to meet. But it worked out well because we have a great guest today.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
But since the last time, we did my 50th,
Boop, boop.
We did.
and that was a lot of people.
A lot
That
of
was.
fun.
And
You
a
throw
lot
a
of
good
fun.
party for yourself, Ryan.
I know. We got to get Eve's planned now because that'll be July 12th, I think.
Oh, my
I'll
goodness.
plan, but I'm going to be in Ludington on vacation, so I can't
And Joe
come.
will be gone too.
Where am I going?
I thought you said you weren't going to be in town.
I'll be in town for that. I'll
Okay.
make it happen.
Okay. But I just want to thank everybody that showed up, and I think we had about 80 people.
Yeah.
Did Discata, and a couple of things. So my friend Ben made me a whiskey barrel tabletop,
It's gorgeous.
and
It
is
is gorgeous.
And there have been lots of drinks and cigars
I was going to say, don't forget the cigars.
consumed out on the back porch.
It was fun.
And not only that, he was able to get some of the Devil's Share out of the barrel when he got it. So we have that in a decanter up on the top, and I think he has more of it, which I
Oh,
hope so,
boy.
because that was pretty good. Some Four Roses.
Is Ben going to be able to keep it?
We'll see how long it lasts there. But anyways, that's enough about
Yeah.
the last month. Anything else, you guys?
You don't want to keep talking about how you're 50 now, old man?
No, well, we'll skip that
All right.
and
We'll
move
skip
on
it.
to the next subject.
No, for me, it was just travel, travel, travel. So it's nice to be home. It's nice to have June at home.
Yeah.
And I've just been sitting at home waiting for you guys to get home. Just kidding.
Enjoy it while it's here, because I leave again next week
Oh,
for
boy.
San Antonio for
Oh,
Eve's
boy.
award ceremony.
Oh, that's going to be exciting. I can't wait to hear about your speech.
Yeah, the one I haven't written yet.
Yeah.
Don't worry. AI
I
will do
told
it.
you I'm going to start it out with, you all know who I am, obviously, from my famous podcast, or our famous podcast.
Yeah, don't forget to wear your QR code on the front of your shirt. Take your little tie apart and
Yeah. Well, I'll work on it. She sent me the link on what I'm supposed to talk about, so we'll go from there. Speaking of talking,
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we're doing things just a little bit out of order, and that's because we want to start by introducing our special guest today. And then she can share with us about the whiskey that she brought us for our first pour. So Karen is someone that I think of as a multi-layered person with interesting parts of her entire life. Now, I just met Karen last year for the first time, but she's been nearly lifelong friends with two people I care very much about, my Aunt Delight and my Uncle Larry. And so anybody who's been able to tolerate Delight and Larry for so long has got to be a great, great person. So Karen is a retired banquet catering manager. She is a wonderful storyteller, and not to mention now author of a 6-book fantasy series, which we're going to hear more about. Karen also has tons of experience in improv comedy as a coach and director. I'm sure you're probably going to be able to tell when we get to that. Karen is also a trans woman who transitioned at the age of 56. And since this is June, it is Pride Month. This is our celebration of that diversity, and we're so happy to have you here. I'd like to introduce everybody to Karen Krebs, everybody.
yay.
Yay.
Hi, everybody. It turns a lot of heads in the stores, you know. I walk in and they're like, oh, and then all of a sudden they go, how you doing? And they're like, whiplash.
I just chalk it up to how many packs of cigarettes did you smoke every day? That's my go-to for you.
I smoked about a pack of cigarettes every day back up until I was 50, but I
Quit that.
I used to smoke it between getting home from work and going to bed. Because I didn't
A whole
smoke
pack?
Yeah, and I didn't smoke at work at all. But I would literally sit in a chair, read, and smoke, and just not good. But I gave that up at 50. My kid said, would you stop smoking? I said, if you never, ever ask me about it again, I'll quit on my 50th birthday. And then I turned 50.
How'd you do it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so Karen, you brought a beautiful whiskey with you.
Yeah.
It's the Cedar Ridge Single Malt American Whiskey.
Yep.
Tell us
QuintEssential.
Yeah, quintessential. That's right.
Number 5 is what they call it. But and I don't know what any of that means. Cedar Ridge Winery is not far from my house in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And they make wines. And about a couple years ago, they started making this, but obviously it takes time to age the whiskey and all. But it's been released, and it's supposed to be pretty good. I don't know. I don't drink whiskey, so, that way I'm not standing on the table asking to fight or whatever, or do something stupid, like take my clothes off and run down the street. So, yeah. Yeah, whiskey's not
Did you try it? You tried it?
Did I try it? I tried it.
On the nose, I get it. It's kind of like a caramel, but yet like some grape. I think the port cask or what the second aging, I'm getting a
The
lot
wine
of that
piece?
up front. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So did you know that if you take a glass and kind of...
Yep.
Yep. You were a good drinker back in the day, huh?
I actually ran restaurants, and I did wine tastings and brandy tastings back in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, when I worked up there. And every week I would pull six glasses or bottles of whatever, and have every waiter taste them, and then make notes so that they knew what people were buying.
So, Joe, I'm looking at your face.
Don't like it.
I don't like it.
It's okay.
And I so appreciate and love that. I mean, but everybody, likes what they like, different things, right?
Absolutely. It's okay.
I didn't think so. We can hug it out later, but we don't have to. But no, what it is it's kind of that aftertaste. I don't like the taste that's leaving in my mouth.
Okay.
So I can't put my finger on what it is.
It kind of reminds me of a cognac finish, like we tried the other day.
Yes, it does.
I really like it. I think
I do too.
That might be one of my top 5.
I was actually, so at first I was kind of, I'm not going to lie, before I tasted it, I was getting the vibes from the AI whiskey from last year. That was like, we still couldn't, we tried it over and over and tried to like it, but it just didn't work. And then I sipped it and I was like, oh no, it's smoky like the AI whiskey. But then I liked the finish. Like I actually thought it was nice. I like the way it warmed up my mouth. It's peppery.
Kind of like a Highland Scotch.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have that really peaty, like grass.
It's different.
Smoked
I
grass.
like it.
It is different. It's very different. I tried it again. This has got a cube if you want to try it with a cube taste.
No.
I don't have cooties.
I know I was going to pour it into my cup, but if you watered it down.
Well, I just put a cube in it to see if I'd like it better.
Okay.
Little bitch.
That's fine.
I was listening to another podcast, and I think it's so interesting because it's similar to like, talking about whiskey or food or anything like that, but that your palate can change. And if you think about that, I mean, your palate changes based on not only time, but also like if you ate something this morning, your palate has changed because of that. Or if you drank something right before we started, your palate has changed before that. And I think that's super interesting. It's like the science of tasting things.
Well, weren't we talking to somebody that was telling us about the people at the distilleries that are the tasters and blenders? And like they can't use...
The redbreast representative.
The redbreast
yes.
representative. Like they can't use shampoo, like scented shampoos or soaps or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Same with the wine tasters and all too. Can't smoke, can't do anything that would affect the taste buds.
Can't have any fun, can't smell good.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not for me.
So, question for you.
Sure.
Why the hell did you move to Iowa?
I was living in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Okay.
And I was having a great time. I was part of a professional improv group. I was doing theater. I worked at a ski resort where I could, like, on my lunch hour, throw my bibs on and go up and make a few turns and then come back to the office. But my ex-wife moved there with my kids. That was her hometown. So I followed my kids, and now they're 30 and 28 and loves my life. And I just got back last week. My son and I and 2 of his friends went to Las Vegas.
Ooh, I
Fun.
love Vegas.
Yeah, it was. It's changed a lot.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's... there was just something about I worked in Tahoe in 85 and 86, so I'm really familiar with casinos. And that Tahoe's, I mean, Vegas itself has really changed. And they're still trying to find an identity. They don't really, the bottom line is in 1978 when they legalized gambling and Indian reservations, Native American reservations, and in Atlantic City, that was the end. Before you knew it, there was riverboat gambling on every river. And the fact of the matter is most people in America today can probably get to casino within a 2-hour drive. Yep. And that took away the whole excitement of just being in a place that you can do things you can't do.
And lose money. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You got to pay money to go lose money. Now you can just lose money.
I did really well. I came home with the money I left, and I had a good time, and I gambled for hours. That's a win by me. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've ever been to Gun Lake down in a half hour from here, that won't be the case.
That won't be the case.
No.
Most smaller casinos, that isn't the case. But if you learn how to play the machines, there's a trick to it.
Yeah.
They're going to pay you so much. The problem is people are always going for the top jackpot, and we all know that you're not going to win that. Mm-hmm. But if you take the little jackpots and then you move to another machine, you can actually. My son he was up $600 on Friday night and lost it all by Saturday night, because that's what they do.
It is.
So I get out your way quite a bit. Well,
okay.
A couple times a year. We've one of our customers has a plant out in Amana, Iowa.
What do you do?
So we run an engineering company for software and warehousing.
Okay.
And I'll tell you who afterwards.
That's
but
fine. I'll get you.
I'm not going to plug them on here.
No,
I'm just
not
kidding.
for that. But yeah, Amana's a weird place.
Coralville is where we usually stay.
Amana is very interesting. It's very similar to the Amish community, but they drive cars type of thing, but it's same kind of thing.
Interesting.
They have a beautiful little village set up there, and it's kind of a closed community, so to speak, It's like Amish are here, and like 2 steps down, they're like, Amana or whatever, And then the rest of us are way down here.
Do your kids still live in the area?
They do. Charles, I think, wants to move on, but Jack is very settled. They're unfortunately modern kids, and they live in a technological world that really, I think my youngest would be happy just sitting in his bedroom and never leaving if he could figure it out. I don't get it. When I was their age, I was out every night until midnight and up at 6 back to work and, doing 2 shows. And so I don't understand it, but it's not my world anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Technology's taken over.
Well, thanks again for bringing that pour.
Yeah.
That is,
you know what? I had no idea.
It.
I asked the guy in this liquor store, I said, what's the best local? This is it. And that speaks volumes for Iowa.
I'll tell you, this is 100 times better than just the standard straight bourbon that I've tried. Because I went out and did the distillery tour last time we were out there.
Oh,
and,
nice.
They have that nice patio out back overlooking the vineyard. It was a beautiful setting for cornfields. And it was a different change of pace because there were vineyards, not all the corn that you see on the way out.
Oh, yeah.
Which is all you really see.
So, I put a cube in this. It's melted.
Water it down a little bit helps?
Yeah, it did. I
smoothed it out a little bit?
It did. The aftertaste that I wasn't enjoying, it's gone.
I'm the same way with the Coca-Cola. I need a little ice melt in my Coca-Cola to make it perfect. But that's good. You know what? I have no idea. So I'm glad that you guys, 2 of you enjoyed it, and I hope that it's okay with you as well.
Yeah, it is.
And
No,
fuck
I
you
appreciate
for not enjoying
Well,
it.
truthfully, in my world, it's like, did it get you fucked up? Okay, then it worked.
Karen is good, so thank you.
Good. No, enjoy it. It's fun.
So Karen, tell us a little bit about yourself. It being
Okay. Did
Pride Month,
yeah.
and
Well,
you have a
think
unique story. Like
Yeah, it's fun because I talk to kids and they just look at me like I'm some ancient person that, come to think of it, I kind of am. But back in the old days, it was scary. You could go to jail for being LGBT. A trans person, if they got arrested dressed up, had to have 3 pieces of male clothing on or they would go to prison. And I don't mean just local county jail for 30 days. You could go to prison, which made no sense. You're going to send gay people to a place that's full of men who are looking to have sex. Worked out really well.
The irony.
But yeah, and then, then Stonewall came, and that was the first shots fired. Before then, there were actual demonstrations, but everybody had to dress up, and the girls had to wear wool skirts and white blouses and the guys in white shirts and black ties. And that all changed after Stonewall. And during the anti-war movement leading up to 1974, you started to see the, gay lesbian coalition showing up at protests with their signs, because a lot of people would promote their groups in the 70s for the anti-war movement. And then that grew from that. And then I think when Harvey Milk was murdered in San Francisco, it set off a series of riots. They burned, they turfed over cars. They were a very angry community, as they should have been. And I think that kind of woke America up to, what was happening. But when I went to college in 76, the first thing I did in my sociology class is try and figure out who the hell I was, because I knew it. Nobody else in the world knew it, because it was only the closet back then. Who knows, if I had come out before then, I'd have probably had electroshock therapy from my parents or whatever. So, and then it was like transvestism, men dressing as women for the purpose of sex, which I get, but it's not who I was about, what I was about. The word transgender hadn't even been invented. And so I went on to try and live a life pretending I wasn't insane. It wasn't until, for me, about 2000 that I took a trip to New Orleans as Karen for the first time ever, and I found a magazine called GG Life or something like that. It's been a long, Anyways, it was a magazine for trans people, but it wasn't like the other ones that I'd always found, which were in the back room of XXX, theaters and things like that. This was actually, it talked about fashion for trans people. It talked about what clothes work best. And that was the first time I realized I wasn't the only one in the world that was like this.
It's more educational than
absolutely.
Entertainment.
It opened my eyes to a world. This was before I had internet or access to anything with internet. And so that really kind of, in a lot of ways, saved my life, in a sense, that I was able to do that. At the same time, I was going through a divorce and had time alone. And eventually I had my come to Jesus meeting in the mirror, and I looked in the mirror and I realized this is kind of who I was. But I had young kids. They were only at the time 5 or 6, 7 years old. And I had made a deal with my kids to be their dad. That's what I was. So I kept it hidden from, not that it was all that hidden from the kids. They figured it out pretty quick. But then when my oldest graduated from high school in 2015, I came out to the world and at work. And I didn't know how far the journey would go, but it was cool. It worked out. And I'll have to be honest with you, as screwed up as the world is right now, I've been out now for 10 years and nobody's ever given me shit.
Awesome.
Nobody's ever stopped me and given me a hard time or for them, it's good luck. If they had, who knows what would have happened. I'm not one to keep quiet in a situation like that, but yeah. So it's been really for me, a great experience.
That's good.
It does anger me though when just as people say things like, well, where's Straight Pride Month? And I'm like, dude, did you have to hide for like 40 years of your life?
Oh, yeah. And it's the same with Black Lives Matter. And it's like, where's our White Lives Matter? It's like you've been privileged every single day. Yeah. I mean, it's.
How did your kids react to you saying, you know what, I'm going to transition, that I'm going to be my authentic self? How did they?
I raise good kids.
That's great.
It comes down to it. You raise loving, good kids, and you give them love. They're going to take you anywhere they get you.
That's amazing.
I don't know if whether they're secretly embarrassed about me, but then again, everybody has in most of my life been embarrassed about me because I might say and do just about anything. So, yeah. I mean, long before they knew I was Karen, they were having me drop me off around the corner from their school.
Right.
So.
Well, you're a parent. You have to.
Exactly.
I think it's amazing. That's fantastic. I can't wait to meet the two guys.
Oh, they're actually great guys. They really are. They're good men. And, Larry, her uncle said something the other day about being a good human being.
Yep.
It's all. What do you need me to do? Just be a good human being. And I think that's all it takes.
I think you're right.
That was after my 50th birthday party. I had no less than 4 or 5 friends. And I'll just let you know, there were my wife's swim parents from, she coaches high school swimming, people I've met up at the bar, Athena, Joe, like the friend group that I've surrounded myself with purposefully, people that have good hearts, and I think, I enjoy being around. But no less than 5 people had commented that they're like, you have the most amazing, diverse group of friends that I've ever seen, like at a gathering like this, and everybody was talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It
like
was
we
just,
all knew each other for years
yeah.
and years and
And
years.
it was great. All ages, races, everything.
Sexuality.
Sexuality.
Everything. Yep.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what it
was
should
good.
be.
Yeah.
We're all just people.
And that's, so I can relate with you.
Yep.
It's like, that's how we raised our kids. And that's like the best compliment I could have, gotten.
Yeah.
That was the best birthday present I got.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Ryan gets a little gushy during Pride Month.
I'm okay.
Especially after I've had a couple drinks.
No, it's great.
Ryan's just a closeted lesbian after all.
I know.
Aren't we all?
Cheers. No, that's awesome. But speaking of Pride Month, so Joe and I kind of talked about our experiences coming out years ago. And then we also talked about Pride Months and like all the different celebrations and where they came from. And you just mentioned the big events in the 70s and 80s that kind of led to the start of Pride Month. Does Pride Month mean anything in particular to you in your journey? Or, I mean, do you feel like June is like this different month, or is it
Pride Month is a lot like when I was first experimenting with who I was, going to the gay and lesbian bars where I actually felt safe. And when you go to a pride parade or take place in, you're around your own people,
It's true.
and you feel like it's okay,
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is I am proud of who I am. You think it was easy? That's why I get so angry about all this talk about trans athletes and everything.
Oh,
I'm
it's your choice.
Do you have any idea how hard it is to put a dress on in high school and show up at the track meet? The answer is it's a really, really hard thing to do, and nobody would do it there might be a few people in the world, but my guess is I don't know anybody that would do that just didn't feel it deep in their heart.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, to me, pride means, this is our opportunity to say we are here. Horton Hears a Who. We are here. We are here. We are here.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I mean,
agree.
growing up through the 80s and 90s, it was so amazing. Like when Ellen DeGeneres came out, right? That was probably a pivotal moment in the community. That and when AIDS actually started affecting, non-LGBT people.
Correct. And it wasn't the gay disease anymore.
Right. And all of a sudden, suddenly it was out, and then all of a sudden the government decided to spend a little money in that direction. But, those were pivotal moments. RuPaul was a pivotal moment in, opening people's eyes to these things. These are our, our icons, and it's been a long journey. And, I think, I don't know, hopefully in our life that it didn't peak out in 2015.
I hope
Because
not.
that's to me about when I felt like that was just about the time Caitlyn Jenner came out. I mean, obviously it was because of me and myself. But I mean, you started hearing more and more kids in school coming out and, and
more
getting
people
acceptance
yeah.
and getting a lot, doing that.
More people stepping up to protect everybody too,
Yeah,
not
it makes
staying
me
silent.
Yeah, and it makes me happy to see like on like social media platforms for straight people saying you're safe with me. I'll be your mom if if your mom kicked you out or whatever. So I've got a mom that would take in anybody. So I'm glad that they're safe. You said the perfect word, safe.
Yeah.
And that's what it was all about. Is all I wanted to be around people like me.
I know a lot of trans kids that were kicked out of their homes as soon as their parents find out, and they had to fend for themselves. The thing is, in the world today, what's really changed is there are opportunities for trans people. Back in the day, there was one job for a trans person, and that was working a drag show for cash, and that was the only job that was really available because you couldn't get employment as a trans person. And eventually those things loosened up and changed to the point where in 2015, when I transitioned, not only did I get 6 weeks medical leave from work, but my insurance paid for it for the most part. I mean, I had to write a big check, but still, something
Any
that I
kind of
could have
coverage.
never, ever, ever have afforded back way when I was able to afford that way. So it was a good journey. It's been a good journey, and I have enjoyed the time. Pride means a lot to me. And it pisses me off when people like Target abandon us.
Correct.
Just because, they think they're going to do better if they don't, have us shopping,
Right.
Yep. Bye, Felice. That's
Yeah,
what I thought.
That's what I thought, too.
You're not getting a dime from me.
Right.
Yeah. When the the LGBT community, people say, well, what was it that really mattered? And I said, what really mattered? Economics. Yep. The bottom line is that the LGBT community had money and
we do.
Yeah, and people wanted that money, and they now when you see advertisements, you don't just see it. For a while it was just white people, and then it was white and black people. Now it's white, black, Hispanic, mixed couples, just about any combination you can imagine, which is awesome because really I don't care what anybody else does in their bedroom, and they shouldn't care what I do.
100%.
So we had a yard sale yesterday, and one of the first people to show up was this guy from Forest Hills, and so this area of town, right? Like, the guy identifies himself as from Forest Hills, and I went, oh crap, freaking conservative. I'm like, we've got a big pride flag on our fence we're selling in the sale, and Sarah and I are chilling and talking to people about us, and then he starts talking, and he is liberal as all get out, and he's like, just such an awesome conversation. And he said exactly what you just said. I don't give a shit what you do in your life. Like, live and be you and be safe. And I was just, so my assumption of the Forest Hills conservative guy, I love that people blow your assumptions out of your mind sometimes, that they can make you feel safe and cared for. And, I think that's great.
My eye doctor, he's like, well, what do you think about trans athletes? And I'm like, okay, we're getting an eye exam. This is really inappropriate conversation.
I didn't ask for a prostate exam, too.
But I looked at him right in the eye and I said, dude, do you have a daughter that's in school right now in a sport? No. I said, do you have a trans kid that's in school with a sport, because he had to make it clear that he didn't approve of trans athletes. And I said, where is your dog in this fight? And he's like, well, I don't, I just don't approve of that. And I said, well, nobody's really asking you. I said, these decisions are not just made. I said, you're involving multiple, social psychiatrists, analysts, sociologists, school counselors, parents, doctors. These decisions for these younger people are not. And the bottom line is, once puberty hits, it's hard to turn that faucet off. The only shot you really have as trans people, to have the life that you want to actually lead is to at the very least delay, and remain androgynous for a couple of years until you're 18 and old enough to sign off on it. But we have a lot of people that want to get involved in stuff that is none of their business.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, it might be contagious.
Yes, no kidding.
It's spreading.
There was that one in North Carolina where some guy put on a skirt and went in the girl's room and raped somebody. I'm like, okay, this is a rapist, okay? Not a transgender person.
And I guarantee you there are more non-trans rapists out there than this one incident.
We're actually one of the safest groups in the world. We're
believe that.
Frightened to be alive sometimes.
I believe that, too.
Yeah. Dave Chappelle told a great joke about that one time, about the car and the gay guy's driving, but the lesbian on the other side is telling him how to drive, and the bisexual's just Googling both of them, and the trans person's in the back seat looking out the window, just happy to be in the car.
Aww.
Okay.
Hey everyone, it's time for a reach around.
Before we switch up the conversation a little bit, it's time. And so this one here, for the reach around, is an Old Forester 117 series. And my friend Dan from the Whiskey Club here in Grand Rapids brought this over to me for my birthday.
Oh, yeah, nice guy.
Yeah, really nice guy. And
We'll keep him.
We did another whiskey night. Joe, you guys weren't in town for that one, but that was a all Weller series. We did the entire Weller series.
How is the orange?
It was good, but you believe it or not, only two of us got 2 of the series right.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you like the red over the orange?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep. Okay. I just
Sorry.
splashed all over my
So
glasses.
Karen can talk about the nose. What do you got
Very
on the
nice.
nose? She said lovely, so I wanted to let her expound.
I don't know. I snorted a Darvon in 78. It's been a problem ever since.
So this 117 series is the High Angel share. So I'll read a little bit about
That
what they
sounds
say
fancy.
on the website. It showcases a selection of barrels which lost exceptional volume to evaporation in the aging process, resulting in bourbon that is rich and multidimensional, layered with dark flavor notes, dried fruits, and unexpected herbaceous qualities. Given the dense concentration of flavors in the liquid, air, water, ice cube, allow this whiskey to open up. So, Joe, this is right down your alley after you use the ice cube.
Yeah, I don't even need it.
No?
No. But I'll do it because it says it. But wow.
So
it's
what are
good.
you getting on the nose on this one?
Oops.
I am totally getting the caramel and the vanilla. I
I'm
mean,
get-
which is kind of a bourbon thing.
Yeah, but not the caramel for me, the vanilla for sure.
So on the website, aroma, bold with rich caramel, toasted coconut, dried cranberry, and dark brown sugar amongst background of intense oak spice. That's pretty accurate, I think.
Yeah, that is.
Now I got to check for the cranberries. I've never smelled cranberries. And I'm not getting that. But so what do you think on the taste?
I was getting on the nose like a fig, so I don't know if that was that cranberry sort of.
Fruit.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
I know.
Whoa.
So good.
It kind of has the Four Roses flavor to me.
I like this a lot.
It's
Soft.
It is soft on the palate.
okay. So
Do it.
when you put an ice cube in, so
Tastes like rose petals.
it's completely, it changes even like, okay, it's going to sound so bizarre, but it changes the texture of, to me, like everything about it when you taste it is completely different. And then while they're tasting, I read your your synopsis that you wrote to tell us about you, and seriously, pineapple on pizza, gross.
I get that.
I love that. I respect that.
I'll be
You know
honest
what?
with you. There's pretty much nothing you can put on a pizza that I wouldn't like.
I read that and I'm like, I really thought you and me were going to be friends.
It's okay.
So
Pineapple on half.
okay, back to reality
Yeah.
here.
It's Joe.
Full-bodied, opens with molasses and dense dessert elements, and trails into anise
dessert.
and celery seed. Celery seed, that's a new one.
I don't know.
So what are you tasting? What are you feeling on this after you put the cube in? And I'm looking at Athena right now.
Watered
Just-
down whiskey.
It's different. I don't think so. I think it's different.
So I really liked it without the ice cube.
Me too.
This is okay, but that ice cube really changed it.
Agree.
Like it totally mellowed it out. Like took away the pepper, took
Yep,
away whatever
took away
bite
the good
was there.
stuff.
It's like
Do you get like rose petals or some kind of flower?
I get a flower. I don't know
Brian's
what
got Joe's stink face on right now.
he does. It's really pretty. It's for the listeners.
I liked it better without the water.
I did too.
Yeah, me too.
100%
Had a
did.
little more burn, but
Yeah,
It was
that kind
good.
of flowered it out.
this was delicious.
Yeah.
Excellent treat.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks
Thanks,
Ryan,
Dan.
for sharing,
Yep.
as always.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to move on a little bit in our conversation and want to kind of touch on your novels
Sure.
and what got you into being an author and going from
So, the first 10 years of this century were very rough on me. I got divorced, and that was extremely painful because it kind of took my family away from me, and suddenly I became a part-time dad. Now I look back and I realize that if that hadn't happened, Karen would never have been, and I'd been miserable my whole life. So in retrospect, it actually was a really, really good thing that eventually happened. Then in 2008, my youngest was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, no.
And we went through 2 years of chemotherapy and then another year of the additional things that go wrong because of the chemotherapy. And then I had to go bankrupt. So during this time, I was, first of all, dealing with my transition issues. And second of all, I was in a dark place, so dark that I couldn't read, couldn't watch television. I would just sit in the dark. I had gotten laid off as the hotel I was in was being sold and transitioned, and last in, first out. So I was like out of work for a while, and things, you can only keep that ball rolling for so long before things start really going down. And so I was in a dark place, sitting in a dark room, and I remember just before Jack got sick, sitting there thinking, oh man, is he gonna live through the night? I didn't know what was good. I mean, they found a frisbee or a tumor the size of a frisbee in his chest.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was a bad deal. But I used to sit in a chair and dream about what I would do if life was better for me. If I really truly won the American dream and paid $5 to a grocery clerk and won the lottery, and what would I do? And that became a story, and then that story just kind of grew as I sat in this chair with nothing to do. And eventually I said, I should just write this down, and I started. Well, after that, I wrote over 1 million words in stories about transitions, stories about, I wrote quite a bit of stories about young people coming out and not being told that boys don't wear dresses, and being given the support that maybe I wasn't given, in that era. And that working through that stuff really helped me get my head on straight about my issues. But I had written all this stuff, and I had never written a book that I could actually show my kids. So I started writing a fantasy book, and I had no idea where it was going to go. I am not like other writers, right? I don't sit down and write out character sheets, and I don't have this big board with plot lines on it. I literally just create characters, and they tell me where they're going and what they're going to do. And it works. But it's basically a love story. Like everything in the world, right? In a sense, isn't everything in a sense love story? And there's a lot of pain and stuff. But it's also about two different worlds. Our world, and in a world that's connected to ours through basically a portal. And the other world is a world of mind slavery. All right, meaning a small group of people within the society can control the minds of everyone else, right? So their entire world is structured around this nobility class who has the ability to control people through their minds, and the rest of them who are basically mind slaves. And so they would say things like, Jojo, hi, it's your 16th birthday. This is Ryan. He's going to be your husband. You're going to be a dishwasher, and Ryan's going to be a farmer, and you're going to be happy for the rest of your life. And because they can adjust your mind, you have no choice, right? There's no complaints because there's, and if somebody, let's say Athena decides to go out and tear up the town, they just go over and make a little adjustment, and then she's a good girl again. And so this is the world they come to and find, and then a series of circumstances happens where the main guy, Quentin, he's the protagonist in the book. He gets heartbroken by Sharon, who's the goddess of Earth, and he's the champion of Earth. And now they're in a different world. Anyways, he meets the local god, and the local god gives him a chore to do: remove the pieces of stone that create the mind control. And so he has to go around and ride his horses around it's a much smaller world. And as he does, collect these pieces of stone that the nobility is using to control the minds of people. But he's also a very conscientious person, and he realizes you can't just take that away. They have no moral code. They have no anything, I mean, they're literally used to being, when babies cry, they just adjust them. So they can't even raise children. They've not been getting every experience. And eventually he ends up and gives what's called the Shining Way, which is, as he said, he was a religion major, and he says, yeah, it's got a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of, the Quran, a little bit of the Bible, a little bit of Marx, both Karl and Groucho, and like that type of thing. And then he gives the world, a new code. And anyways, then he goes back home, and he almost gets killed, and finally
don't give the punchline away.
Nope, no punchlines. But and then the next book, The Wild, that's the first two books. They're kind of really combined to make one big book. And then the third book is he brings the stone back to our world and finds out it's just as dangerous here. And then it gets stolen, and somebody goes back, and he has to go back to retrieve it. And that one, all bets are off because people who go with him are exploring their own genders and sexualities at the time, and it's just a mess. And it's a big game of cat and mouse. But I honestly have no control over my writing. Honestly, none whatsoever.
I love it.
I just sit down, and it just starts to flow, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're going to do that now. Okay, go.
So these were like kind of notes like along the way, like as you were writing, or
No
just
notes.
like suddenly.
No, I just go in and I go back about, 2 chapters, and I start reading, and then as I get to the end, I just start typing and add
Okay.
everything in.
I
and
love it.
Very cool.
It just comes the way it comes. And then the second set of books, now there's 6 in the series,
There are.
take 20 years later. And they're all on a beach celebrating the night they all returned. And Mermaid comes and says, hey, we got a problem. We need your help. And Quentin, the main leader, goes, I told you I wasn't coming back. And his kids drug him and leave. And then, of course, he has to go back, and it all goes on. But, yeah, that's those 3 books are, good Lord, For Love or Nothing, A Tale of 3 Cities, and the final book is The Heart of the World. So it's a 6-book series total.
How long did it take you to write 6 books?
It depends, all right? The first book, I wrote a part of it, didn't really know where it was going, and then somehow I got to the second book, and I wrote the entire second book, and then went back and finished the first book. But the third book, I wrote in 6 weeks while working 14-hour days.
Holy cow.
As a catering manager. September, October is our busiest period.
Wow.
Well, my kids had gone both. By that time, they were both off at school. Then I was literally alone at home every night. So, yeah, it just came. So it depends. And then the next 3 books I actually wrote during the pandemic. I was working. I was an essential personnel, although all I did was hand out meals to people that couldn't go home at the school. And so I was only working like 5 hours a day. So I would stay up half the night for type.
So, with all that going on, how in the world did you have time for your improv career?
Well, I started in early 2000s, and we were in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
I thought you were dying for a second.
I did too.
Like, go ahead, die. Let her
I was
die.
like, don't puke.
I don't have a mute button.
Went down the wrong tube. It's
He doesn't understand the signals.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw choking. I was like, do you need Heimlich or what is going on here? Or are you going to
Almost.
throw up? One or the
Both.
other.
All of the above. Okay.
It's not
Sorry.
promotional.
Definitely cut that part.
No, we're gonna leave this shit in.
Outtake.
I'll cut it.
Okay. I'm okay now.
Okay.
Ready?
Sorry.
Back to the improv. Yep.
All right, so I was doing some theater back in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, that I had gotten back into after not doing a lot of theater. And one of the guys said, hey, you want to form an improv group? And we said, yeah, and we taught ourselves how to do it, and we were making really good money, and then I had to move here. In 2008, I was at Mount Mercy University where I work, and I was talking to a couple kids who were the last of the drama kids, because they eliminated their drama program a few years later.
Of course they did.
And of course they did, yeah. Along with the art program this year.
Of course they did.
Yeah, they tear that stuff out. Well, they're struggling to survive right now. The smaller schools are really struggling. But I asked these kids, they said, well, it's a bummer because I don't want to do the play because it's 6 weeks and I don't have that time. I said, well, come do improv. It's 2 hours a week. Show up 3 weeks out of 4 and, you'll be in our shows. And we started a group, and that was 17 years ago. And it's called Begging for Mercy, and it still goes on. And then in 2012, I think it was, I can't remember, my son was looking for an improv coach for his high school group. And I went there, and I was working with the kids there. And that spring, they won the All-State banner for the All-State High School Speech
that's
Contest
awesome.
in improv.
Very
Yeah, it was
cool.
a good day, And nothing better as a parent than to be able to make your son a hero. You know
Right.
what I mean?
So cool.
So it was fun. And anyways, so then they started an improv group there. And so that group called the FDIC Forest Drive Improv Group Club at Washington High School in Cedar Rapids has been going on for over 12 years now.
I'm going to have to check that out next time I come out.
Yeah, you can actually go online. And then the third group I formed was a group called Living Improverty. And that was guys from both the FDIC, high school, and the college group that I knew were in town. And I put them together. And those group, I taught them how to do musical improv. And they perform professionally now periodically and all. So it's a
Holy
lot of
shit,
fun.
that's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's, and the funny thing is when I got to Cedar Rapids in 2005, there was one group of 40-some-year-old guys doing improv, and they were just doing one show every 6 months or whatever, and there was nobody doing it. I came and I did these 3 groups, and now there's probably 12, 15 improv groups within Cedar Rapids, so it's really got a hot improv scene.
That's
So
great.
now
I didn't
time
know
for
that.
me to retire, So this is my last semester of teaching improv here now.
And then Joe needs some help. She
Yeah.
thinks she's funny a lot, but
You know what? Here's the thing. I think I am funny.
I think you are
Ask
too.
me, and I'll tell you I'm funny.
Yeah.
Whether I am or I'm not, I don't really give 2 shits.
and I'm here to level set you.
I listen to you, my friend, and it doesn't matter.
When you're standing in front of 150 people who expect comedy and you're not doing it, you'll know.
You'll know.
You'll know. It's a scary place to be. But I MC all the shows, or I did, especially at Mount Mercy, and I run the lights and sound, and the kids do all the performing, and we do comedy songs, kind of like the Weird Al Yankovic type things.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We do like for Christmas. We have a big the old Andy Williams Christmas show,
Yeah.
where they do skits and the music. And
So this is 6 weeks.
Huh?
Is that what you said? 6 weeks of training?
No.
No.
We go all semester for that.
Damn it.
But-
I was trying to figure out how I can slide in there.
Oh yeah. Well, I think
You would be figuring
we'll
that
see how
out.
things
I
go.
would. That's how I'm doing it.
Things are a little different right now, and I'm not sure. I'm in transition as far as my life is concerned. But there is a possibility at some point that I'll be coming up to Ludington and starting a group up there.
It wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Because it's fun to do, and I teach a performing
I'd keep
improv.
her out of my hair for a couple of months.
It would.
It's
You
only
know what?
2
He would
hours a
miss
week,
me. He would miss me.
But I do. I've done workshops. I did an improv festival in Cedar Rapids that was a lot of fun, and it was good. So it's fun. I like it. It's
That's
it's
great.
different, and Chicago has its own style. They do the long form improv, anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour on one suggestion at times, and that's always great if it works.
If it works.
If it doesn't work, it's a long 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen Matt Rife?
Matt Rife.
He's a comedian, but
Oh,
he does
okay.
a lot of in the moment kind of
Yeah.
improving.
During the show.
I don't think my daughter's a big fan of him, but I have tickets to see him
Me
that
too.
sounds
this
nice.
fall. You did too?
We're going. We're going. We're
Oh,
sitting
we're
right next
all
to you.
going?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go, but I
Okay.
think now
You know what,
I'm busy
shithead?
that
You're
night.
going.
Hey,
I'm gonna
I'm
go.
going too. You,
She's
you
going.
can sit next to me.
When
That's
I'm
right,
in
I'll sit
November, I'm going down to see my sister down in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we're driving up to Charlotte to see Randy Rainbow.
Shut your
Randy
mouth.
Rainbow.
Yeah,
Randy Rainbow is amazing. He's amazing.
Very
Okay.
Oh my
funny.
God, he's
I
so
gotta look
funny.
that up.
He
He
is
does-
so funny.
Yeah,
He's so funny.
yeah. He does parody songs, mostly about Donald Trump and
Yep.
that kind of thing.
'Cause
And he
how
wears
can you not?
amazing costumes and amazing production and
He's
just a lot of
great.
fun. So
I'm making a note, Ryan.
Randy Rainbow. He's amazing.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we'll see what happens. Every day is a new day.
so does your crew travel, or is it all Cedar Rapids?
I've been trying to get him to join NACA, the National Association of Collegiate Activities. That's the group of people that go around and plan events at colleges. But I had a whole business plan laid out for him. But sometimes you just have to let people do what they want to do.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes you have a dream for them and where you want them to be, but they have other things in mind, and so you have to let it go and let it be what it is. I love musical improv. I love when people just get a suggestion. We play a bit that we invented in Jackson Hole called Campfire. And it would be like the 4 of us pretending we're sitting around a campfire, and then we would tell a story about, hey, remember that time JoJo got kicked out of high school? And then we'd stand up and say, why did JoJo kick you out of high school? And somebody would yell and answer, and then we would sing a song to it based on like Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan, or we used to do.
JoJo slept with a lot of women in high school.
All right. Yeah, JoJo slept with a lot of women. Yeah.
I did.
It's okay, JoJo. It's all right.
Thank you.
But yeah, so yeah.
Ryan
We have
did
fun
not.
with that.
Not by choice, but
I understand. Mine was, I just couldn't keep them away.
You're so lucky.
I know.
Being trans is a completely different experience.
Yeah,
Because we are the spiced pumpkin latte with cayenne pepper and Drano, right?
You are.
You have to
are.
have a specific type of person that likes transies.
So, do you have a partner?
I do, and I
Okay.
don't.
Okay. It's complicated.
Well, she just has a lot of issues, and we had a big blow up 2 years ago, and things were really ugly, and we won't go into how bad things got, but she was going through a bad period of her life, and really bad period of life, like psychosis type stuff, and it was rough. It was a very rough time, and it was such a way that I don't think I have the trust to ever go back to that situation, or for that matter, any other situation. You know, my whole life I've had to take care of people. You know, I had 2 wives, then I had kids, and, you know, so I kind of like just being responsible for me for once.
Take a
amen
break.
to that.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Well deserved. Well
Yeah.
deserved.
It was you know, it was hard. It was hard. I still see her. We go
Good.
fishing every week. I take her fishing because she loves to fish, and I'm totally indifferent to the experience. I don't mind. Yeah, so she wants to fish. I'm like, after about 3 or 4 casts, I'll catch 1 fish. I'm pretty well good. If I didn't have to touch the fish or the worms or anything, I'd be fine. But, you know, I don't mind fishing, but, you know, I like a good book and a chair just as well. So
You could sit
Do
and
you-
watch.
that's what I do a lot
Yeah.
of times.
Do you talk to your ex-wife, the mother of your kids?
Oh, I do. Yeah, we're in
Are
a
you
pretty good
friends?
relationship.
I love it.
Friends is a strange
Okay,
word,
it's-
but I mean,
okay,
we
fair
have
enough.
a good relationship. I mean, we don't see each other or do things outside of that, but I had a lot of bitterness for a long time because I had my dream up until I became Karen was to be that perfect family, husband, wife, 2 kids. You know, and we were living in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We were married. This is my dream, to raise my kids in a mountainous environment, you know, where wilderness, where I can teach them to camp and to fish and all these other things. And then all of a sudden I'm, you know, living in a small apartment by myself, seeing my kids, you know, 8 days a month or whatever. And so that was a lot of bitterness, but I worked through that. You know, it took a while. And she had a lot of issues on her own too, so... But we're in a good place.
Good.
So
That's
my first
great.
wife, if she comes in, I'm gone.
I'm going.
She walks through
Alicia.
that door, I am out the back so fast.
Duck and cover.
She's one of the scary girl. But good for me
Yeah.
at the time.
Speaking of love life, Joe,
No.
what's up with you? No, I'm just kidding. I'll cut that out.
No.
No.
Cut. I'll make
Cut.
that.
Well, is there anything you'd like to leave us with? Anything you'd like anybody
joke,
to
a
know
funny-
about you? Something.
Golly, I don't know. It's just, you know, life is what it is. You enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you can. I'm going to be 67 in about 4 weeks, which actually is about 37 years over warranty. You know, so I mean, nobody believes that I'm still alive. They're like, you lived, but yeah,
Yeah, I heard about you and Larry and Delight.
we had
Mostly
some
you and
funs.
Larry, but
yeah, Larry and I. Mostly,
Delight was
Delight
along for
was
the
a lot
ride.
tamer than Larry and I were. Yeah, we had some
I love
moments.
me some Uncle Larry.
we'll get you
Larry's
some
awesome.
stories, Joe. They're
Larry's
adorable.
awesome. But yeah, no, I thank you for having me. I love love being here. I like listening to your podcast. And
Thank you.
my books can be available on Amazon.com. Just go ahead and type in Karen Renee Krebs, Renee. And Krebs is Krebs. If you're an old biologist, the Krebs cycle. If you're not, well, sorry.
Too bad.
Krebs is actually like the Smith of Germany. It's a very common name over
wow.
there. But
Didn't know that.
it means crabby man.
Krabby Man. Well, thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks, Karen, for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Hopefully,
Thank
we'll
you.
get some episodes out a little faster next time.
Well, this one's coming soon.
This one's coming soon. We got another one lined up after this with Embry. You can catch me at Rye Guy Whiskey GR on Instagram.
And I'm Whiskey 3 on. Got that
Whiskey
one.
3.
It's a good reach around.
Yes, it is.
Whiskey 3.
Joe the Experience on Instagram and Whiskey The on Instagram. I got you.
OnTheRocksProduction.com is the website. He's going to work on getting that updated at some point.
I'll put your link on there too to Amazon for Karen's books.
That's it.
Let's do it.
Okay, we'll talk to everyone later. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.